So today I want to talk about zip ties. I was recently talking to someone who told me a quick story on how they were trying to cut a zip tie off of something and they cut themselves pretty severely. And believe it or not, that's not the first time I've heard that before. I've heard that multiple times over the years, people cutting themselves with their knives trying to cut off zip ties. Okay, very common thing. So today I want to show you how I cut zip ties. Generally speaking, I don't cut them. Of course, you could use a pair of scissors. This is the easiest way to cut zip ties, if you happen to have them with you. The smaller the scissors, the better, because it's going to be easier to get under whatever the zip tie is around, especially if it's super tight. So I made a quick zip tie log here. I just cut up some cardboard, stacked it, and zip tied it. All right, so I can give you some demos. So yeah, obviously, taking a pair of scissors, slipping it in underneath, and cutting it is probably the easiest way to cut a zip tie. But it's not always convenient and you don't always have scissors. Using a knife is probably the most common if you're cutting towards the item. The problem with this is that most times when you're cutting a zip tie off something, you don't want to cut what's underneath it. In this case, I could just come in and I could just cut through, but this is just cardboard. Most times you don't want to cut what's underneath. So what people tend to do with knives is you try to slip it underneath, right? And then cut away. And then the problem with this is that usually whatever the zip tie is on, it's awkwardly zip tied to it. It's not easy to hold. You end up struggling and putting your hands in different positions where once that gives, like in this case, if I'm holding this like this and trying to cut this, once this gives away, it's gonna probably jam right into my finger. And it's a very sharp pointy knife and it's gonna slice my finger very aggressively. All right, so you don't want to go in necessarily and just cut zip ties. See how much pressure that took? It's a very sharp knife. That took a lot of pressure. So I don't recommend actually using your knives to ever cut zip ties. I recommend pliers. Doesn't matter if they're big or small. All right, take your pliers. Most times they have a wire cutter in here, but that's not even what I use. All right, if you were to wiggle that all the way down and use the wire cutter, yeah, it would cut it. But all I do is take the head of the zip tie, grip it, and twist. Whoops, gotta get a good grip on there. And they snap. So here's the Leatherman Juice, a smaller multi-tool. Again, you use the top where that square is and you grab that and you can just twist it until it snaps. Or you can put the needle nose pliers underneath, okay? And you can grab the strap part of it and you can rotate that as well to cut it, okay? So just twist it. It's going to tighten up on whatever it's holding and then it's eventually going to snap. Now in this particular case, this is a very soft cardboard which is giving. So as you're twisting this, I'll show you again here, what you're doing is you're tightening up the entire strap, okay? Because this is soft, this is going to have some give before it actually snaps. If you're using something that's very hard, if this is zip tied around hard plastic or metal or something like that, it snaps very, very easily because there's no give in that. Now in the case of a multi-tool, obviously if you have a pair of scissors, that will be your best option, okay? Especially if you have a softer item that's underneath the straps, all right? And the smaller scissors the better, just because it's easier to slip underneath the strap. So you want to get it underneath, and the closer to the bottom of the scissors, the more leverage you have and the easier it's going to be to cut. Okay, so it's easier to cut with the base of the scissor as opposed to the tip of it. So that's one of the many reasons why I love carrying a smaller multi-tool. The scissors are the best option. It really is the best option for cutting zip ties. But most times I don't even think about using the scissors. I'll just use, again, the head of the pliers, grab the, this portion of the zip tie where it connects and just twist it, all right? So all you're doing, the zip tie is obviously just a ring around something. And by twisting it, you're tightening that ring until the plastic gives and snaps. And it usually snaps right, as you can see, the weak point is right where it's connected. All right, so the best way to cut a zip tie, not to cut it at all. At least not with your knives, okay? Cutting zip ties with your blades, I know a lot of you guys do it and you don't have a problem, but it can inherently be a little bit more dangerous to do that. Even with a sharp blade, this is nice and sharp, but you saw that it created a lot of pressure before it actually cut, and then that blade is going swinging, and if there's something in the way of it, it will cut that as well. Now, even if you do use your knives to cut your zip ties, in some occasions it's so tight around what it is, you can't slip it underneath. So then you tend to go like this to cut it. And again, whatever's underneath there you might cut into as well, or you can damage your blade. Not to mention, cutting this thick plastic does dull out your edge fairly quickly. So I always save my cutting edge for actually cutting stuff. If you could break them off, it's just easier, faster, more efficient, and a little bit safer. So just my opinion, just what I've been doing for the last couple of years. Occasionally, when I cut zip ties, I don't cut them like around things like this. If I do cut demos, I'll take a unused zip tie that's long and I'll fold it over and I'll do cut tests like this, all right, just to see how that's going to cut through. All right, I don't usually just use this to cut zip ties off of products, just because again, it's a little bit more dangerous and I don't want to damage, you know, whatever's underneath the zip tie. So that's all. Post your comments and feelings down below. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you soon.